Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are jumping in with this really fun interior exterior card. So I am going to be playing with the Simon Says Stamp Arch French Doors die, which definitely was a major inspiration for me today. It's so beautiful. I loved it the minute I saw it, and I knew it was going to be really fun to create some outdoor looks looking in on a scene. And so the perfect scene to build up for this for me today, I'm using the Purple Onion Designs toy workshop, and then the little bears on the couch reading a book is called Story Time, and we're going to make this a birthday card for my mom. So mom, act surprised when you get this in May. And it says, hope your birthday is one for the books. And I just thought this was so cute. I bought this stamp originally because this stamp is my mom. This is my mom reading to my kids 100%. I will never see it any other way. I will never use it for anyone else. I have already made her a card with this stamp before. I don't care. It was a Christmas card. Now we're going birthday card. And it's funny because I am using that toy workshop background, but instead of it being a toy workshop, we're going to make it a playroom. So everything's going to be fine. It's going to be super fun. And I just really wanted to jump back into 2023 with some really fun card inspiration for you guys. So we are going to be layering this die cut door over top of our scene. And I am using this Honeybee Stamps Grain and Grunge. Sorry. Paper pad. I'm just going with these really beautiful, really light toned white and gray wood grain. And that is what I'm going to cut my door out of. But first I'm going to measure out and stamp my sentiment. If you don't have one of these mounting stamps from Purple Onion and you do any kind of red rubber stamping, it's a game changer. Let me tell you, it is a game changer. It's just a piece of silicone, basically, or whatever that stamping stuff is made out of. But so it sticks on both sides. It does get dirty. You literally just rinse it off in the sink and let it air dry, and it becomes sticky again, but not like sticky like adhesive, just like sticky to your Misty or whatever stamping tool you may use. So it clings to the door on one side, and then the stamps cling to it, and it is, God, it makes everything so much easier. So I stamped my sentiment on the bottom area and then ran my paper through my die cut machine. And I will tell you that I used a shim because I wanted a cardstock shim, an extra piece of cardstock that I stuffed in there and ran through my die cut machine with my die and my paper. And it was too much pressure. So don't do that, at least not to start. Practice using this stamp or this die if you get it just the way it is first, because it overdid it. It almost cut the door all the way off. I'll show you that at the end. So when I am setting up a scene with stamps where you can't see through and you don't know exactly what your positioning is, I like to take an extra piece of packaging and just tape it into my Misty, as you see here. And that way you can shift and adjust and make sure that you feel good about your placement. And then once you're happy, I just flip my packaging up, stamp my image in place, and then I can flip my packaging back down and just wipe it off with a damp cloth, and we are good to go. It just makes it so much easier. So I also stamped my image onto a full stick Post-it note that I fussy cut out and put in place so that we can stamp our toy room or our playroom behind our little characters. And I repeated the same process just to make sure that everything was straight and lined up how I wanted it. When I did this first initial stamping, it was not. So I just kind of shifted everything over a little bit. So it makes it a lot easier. And this is also a really great trick for sentiments, because that way you can make sure that they are straight and even before you commit to where they're going to be placed on your card. Many times I've tried to just wing it with a red rubber stamp, and it ends up crooked, and it basically means that I have to start over. And if you wait until the end to do that, you know the pain of when that happens, and now you have to either figure out a way to fix it or literally start over, and that's not fun. So I stamped all my images onto Copic XPress-It paper with my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, I believe. And I just double checked to make sure that I liked where everything was. I went in with a pencil just to outline the arch to make sure I kind of knew how far out I needed to color, because our whole scene is not going to be inside those doors. And I started off with my floor. I am going in with a lot of Copic colors today. I'm going to try to make sure that the majority of them at least are listed in the description box below for you, but some of them went pretty quick. I did use a lot of colors, especially when it comes to the background and all those little tools and paints and toys. So you may have to watch this and pause it. I do always keep my caps, my Copic lids in the screen. So if I forget one, I pre-apologize to you. You can see on my Post-it coaster that I've made myself, I am having a really hard time with my Copics right now. Every single one pretty much is leaking some kind of clear liquid, either condensation or blending solution or something out of the lid. I store all of my Copics on their sides. They're in organized more marker towers, horizontally, mostly flat. So for everybody that was trying to help me out and saying maybe it's because they're vertical, it's not that. I'm thinking it's probably temperature fluctuation, but I really don't know. I've also lost 2 markers for being dried out in the last week. And if it's because this is happening, I might cry. One was pretty much brand new. The new one, it felt like the cap was very loose, and I've noticed that on some of my newer Copics. I think there's been a manufacturing issue with some of the Copics. I'm not going to get Copics anymore because of this. It is just something very frustrating. So if you've had a similar experience, at least you know you're not alone. Whatever comfort that might be. So I shaded in that back wall kind of with just some warm grays to keep it nice and light and neutral, like it would just be, you know, painted kind of a fresh, creamy white color. I went in with the same wood tones for the countertop and the shelves that I did for the floor. And for this beautiful kind of built-in shelf detailing, I just went in with some very soft kind of muted colors to fill in that kind of like filigree or whatever that would be, the little leaves at the top. I shaded in my window panes and the little glass jars, and then I started having fun adding in lots of rainbow colors to the paints and toys and tools that are kind of on this back shelf. I love the idea that this is kind of like a playroom, that those might be some play tools. You know, you would have like a play kitchen or a play little tool set, or even like a craft room. Maybe it's like Nana and Kids Playroom, Craft Room, something like that. It just, I don't know, it just seems so sweet. And I love being able to use my Christmas stamps in other parts of the year. So I think this one works out really well. I know that Purple Onion Designs also has like a card making table stamp. Like it's a table with 2 little critters from Stacy Yakula that are making a card or crafting, and I think that would fit really well into this room for that exact same reason. So if you have that and you end up mixing those 2 together, definitely tag me somewhere so that I can see it, because I bet it's super cute. I did want to play up the rainbow element to really push that this is like a kid's playroom. So I did lots of rainbow back and forth. You can see with those 2 little shelves, lots of rainbow things. And for the other things on the edges of the shelves, I just didn't color because they weren't going to make it into our scene once we add the doors. So I went in with E50s to shade in my bears. I used 1 shade darker on the, well, in our case, Grandma Bear, and then left that shade out and added in an extra lighter shade for the little baby bears. I just thought it would be a cute way to give them a little bit of extra distinction. You could obviously color them all the exact same, or you could color all 3 of them completely different. I just love the look when the little babies are a little shade lighter. I think it just makes them look a little, I mean, they already look younger, but hopefully you know what I mean. So I just went through adding in all of my shading, making sure to keep their eye areas as light as possible for each color family that I was using. I generally like to make sure that the faces of my critters are the lightest parts, just so that you don't lose any of their expressions. I am just so in love with these stamps, and it's just so detailed. Absolutely adorable. And I had to give them nice dark toe beans, so I went in with a dark marker and colored for all three of them the same shade. Now I decided to do a yellow couch to really give this a bold pop of color. And the tricky thing about yellows is adding shading can be hard because sometimes you just end up making it orange. So I went in with a BV marker to put in all of my deepest shadows. That way when I go in with my darkest yellow shade, it really gives that cool toned shadow look and not just like a more orangey yellow. Not necessary for all occasions, but just something fun to keep in mind. If you haven't tried that before, it does give a way more realistic shadow effect on your yellow surfaces. So I went through, like I said, and gave them a really nice yellow couch. And then I'm going to go in and shade the feet of the couch in just some of the same similar kind of browns that I did to the floor. I made them a little bit darker so they wouldn't blend in too much, but I didn't want to go crazy at this point since all of the wood tones in my card so far have been the same tone. The little bear on the left is holding a little stuffed bunny, so I colored that in pink. And now I'm giving them some mismatch couch cushions because, again, if this was a real playroom, the cushions would kind of just be, whatever, or would be really bright maybe to give a fun pop. So I did a green and a red because we're going to make Nana's book blue, and I thought that would be a really cute way to bring in, again, those kind of rainbow shades. I decided that my shadow color for my green was not dark enough, so I went back in to add just a little bit more. And now I'm shading in that blue book. This set is just so cute. In the past when I've used it, I did make the couch like a fun pattern, and I think that's really fun too. Or if you love paper piecing, this couch would be really fun to paper piece and make it look really woven or like a really fun design. So just some ideas to keep in mind. I went through with my white gel pen to add a little shine to all of their eyes, and then I went in with my thin foam squares from Simon Says Stamp and added little ones all the way around my door. I added the tinier ones at the top just to make sure that nothing was kind of running over the edge and would cut into our scene. And I'm just going to line that up and press down. Easy peasy, and add a little bit of Tombow permanent mono adhesive onto the whole scene and add it onto my card base. And that is my card complete. Lots of room inside for my kiddos to sign their names and tell Nana how much we love her. And yeah, I just love this effect. I'll show you here. You can see where that die almost cut through my paper. So be careful. These are very effective dies. They apparently don't need any shims on regular thin pattern paper. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you are feeling super inspired. I hope you're already having an amazing crafty 2023, and I will see you next week. Happy crafting.